Okay, so what I want to do tonight is kind of recap a little bit of what's been going on in Israel. I have a little video from Keith. We have a team in Israel right now, and I'll play a little video of that. But I want to recap what Israel has done and accomplished, because you've probably heard of Sinwar being killed, which was a great thing. Glad that he was gone. And, where does Israel go from here? And we're going to talk a little bit about what all that's going on. So, as you know, Sinwar was taken out, and they've been systematically taking out these leaders, not only of Hamas, but they took Nasrallah out. We talked about that. And you would think this would, terrorize pretty much all these crazy leaders, whether they're in Iran or the Houthis or anything like that. But you got to remember, you're dealing with an Islamic mind, and Islamic minds are psychopathic. They're not afraid. They just don't think like that. They're not afraid of death because they actually want to die. So anyway, I got some drone footage of Sinwar. You probably have seen this, but I wanted to show it. And some of this stuff, I'm going to show some pictures of him that we obtained from Israel that are pretty graphic. But this is when we buy drones for Israel, guys. This is what these drones do. Okay, this is why we buy the drones. Okay, they're about $10,000, but this is what they do. And you can see Sinwar right there sitting on the couch or in that chair. And you see it? This is what they're drones. He had a stick. It looks like his right hand's missing. Something. So, this is why we are investing in the IDF and giving them the drones, because they can go in there with a drone. Here was Sinwar. They knew he was in there. They flew the drone in there and they identified him. And then what they do is once they identify it, then they shoot tanks, missiles into it. Okay? So here's them. Once the drone had located him, this is what the tank did. The tank is right there in the circle. And that's how they ended his life. So that's how the drones work. That's how the tank operates. The drone locates the enemy, then they just call down fire and blow the guy up. And then you can see the Israeli soldiers got in there, and they're looking, and they've spotted his body in all the rubble. If you don't want to look at this, don't look at the next few pictures, because these are from the IDF. And so here is Sinwar after they killed him. This is what his body looked like, and this is how they identified him. So he had a major blow to his head. But this is what happens to terrorists who do this. And the reason I'm showing that is that everybody needs to understand, when you're a terrorist, this is how you end. Okay? This is where you end up. Especially if the Israelis are going to come after you. And everyone needs to understand that. What was in his pocket is interesting. Mentos, a few things. Yeah, he doesn't need those anymore. He had a 1-bullet watch, nail clippers, a little light, prayer beads or whatever those are. He had a fake passport. Interesting thing, as you know, UNRWA has been in the Gaza Strip, and what came out of this is the two terrorists killed were Sinwar's bodyguards, of whom worked as a teacher for UNRWA. and high-ranking official in Hamas' National Security Office. So UNRWA is a UN arm. You understand that. So the UNRWA has been implicated in ideological support for terror, and several of its employees participated in the October 7th attacks. That's the UN, guys. And President Donald Trump even canceled U.S. funding to UNRWA, but President Joe Biden restored it when he got into office. So you're talking about the UN who hates Israel, but now we know that we had a teacher that was one of Sinwar's bodyguards that were working for the UN. This is how deep it has went and how bad and corrupt this is all. So here's where Sinwar was living in one of these tunnels, like a cockroach, like a rat, right? And this is what, they have these sophisticated tunnels and junk like that. So, he's been there for I don't know how long. And then this is him and his family right before October 7th, escaping through these tunnels. So we got film footage of him. It's Sinwar, that's his wife. They're moving things around. So that was right before October 7th. So this is how they've used these tunnels. Their kids are moving through them. Their wives are moving through them. Interesting thing, Sinwar's wife in that video was seen holding a $32,000 Hermes bag. I wonder where she got $32,000 to buy a purse like that. Probably America. Probably America. The 6 slain hostages were likely Sinwar's shields. Lived months on energy bars. They had lost weight. They couldn't move anymore. They were barely alive, and so they murdered them in the Rafah tunnel at the end of August, if you recall that. And Sinwar was probably using these as human shields. And again, he needed to move, but they couldn't move, and so they executed them. That was probably why they murdered them. So anyway, despite the world pressure on Bibi, don't go in the Rafah, as Kamala said, and Biden said, don't go in the Rafah. Don't create a war in Lebanon. Bibi has went and moved ahead, and God bless him. He needs to. And he has taken out many key leaders of these terrorist organizations, and Iran is next. That's what's next, okay? I'm expecting any time for this to happen. As Netanyahu has said to Hamas, free the hostages and we will let you live. And so he's going to deal with them as he dealt with Sinwar. He's going to kill every one of them if they don't stop, right? And of course, there's memes out there, and the Ayatollahs should be shaking in their boots if they're watching what Netanyahu is actually doing. He's taking out these leaders. He's taking out these terrorist organizations. They're next. They are next. Now, the thing about this is you and I are supportive of Israel. There's no doubt about that. And this what they're doing is great, taking out these terrorists. All these terrorists need to be taken out. But then you have the UN, and this is what I want how evil this is. This is Secretary General Guterres. He did not welcome the elimination of arch-terrorist Yahya Sinwar, just as he refused to declare Hamas a terrorist organization after October 7th massacre. Guterres is leading an extreme anti-Israel, anti-Jewish agenda. We will continue to designate him as a person non grata and bar his entry to Israel. So he's been barred from Israel because of this. He just refuses to acknowledge any of this, man. It's really evil. It's very evil. Turkey and Iran, I was just in Turkey, and they're trying to salvage Hamas's cause after Sinwar's death, so he's a big hero to them, Russia gets into the mix, claims to have serious concerns about Yahya's death. So it's funny, Turkey and Russia. Sounds familiar to me. Sounds like Gog of Magog, right? And so they're all behind Sinwar. What in the world, And Macron, obviously throwing his hat in the mix, claiming Israel owes its existence to the UN, which that's totally wrong. He claimed that the UN created Israel. That couldn't be further from the truth. UN Resolution 181, passed in November 1947, approved the carving out from the territory of the Palestine Mandate of two states, one Jewish, one Arab. The Jews accepted the resolution, but the Arabs unanimously rejected it. So he's totally wrong on that. But again, does facts or history matter to these people? No, it's just being anti-Israel. So JNS had this article, Sinwar's death bolsters spirit of resistance in the Muslim world. And like I said, you would think that the Muslim world would be terrified after watching what Israel has done to these people, to these terrorists. But the Hamas leader now, we will become a model for our youth and children who will carry forward this path toward the liberation of Palestine, according to Tehran's mission to the UN. They don't learn. They don't learn. Iran's mission stated, when Muslims look up to the martyr Sinwar standing on the battlefield in combat attire, out in the open, not in a hideout, facing the enemy. I'm sorry, he was in a tunnel. What are you talking about, not in a hideout? He wasn't facing the enemy. The spirit of resistance will be strengthened. As long as occupation and aggression exists, resistance will endure, for the martyr remains alive and a source of inspiration. They just won't give up. Just won't stop, right? And so don't expect them to lay down and just give up. They're going to fight all the way. They'll fight to the death. And that's what Israel is facing. Israel has to eliminate them and neutralize them. But anyway, what we find out now, what's coming out, secret documents show Hamas tried to persuade Iran to join on October 7th. And so they tried to get Hezbollah to attack, but that no one would act with them. And so this is all coming out. They pleaded with Iran to join, but Iran didn't want to do it. Anyway, what is not being said and needs to be said is the problem of Islam. Okay? We can't just say, well, these are terrorists, and just once they're neutralized, then the issue is over. It's not over, because then another cockroach takes their place. Okay, and so it just continues. Another rat out of the tunnel comes and takes its place. And what the problem is, it's not terrorism, it's Islam pretending to be a religion when it's actually a political movement and a political ideology that wants to take over the world, like communism, hiding under the guise of a religion that is inspiring these genocidal psychopaths to kill everyone, to kill Jews, to kill Westerners, to rape, to do whatever, okay? To take control of everything, okay? And until this is addressed, it's never going to solve the problem, ever, okay? Because Islam keeps creating this, and no one is addressing that. No one is talking about that. And I guess it's not politically correct, but this is the problem. This is the problem when I was in Turkey. This is the problem when I'm over there and I'm watching them watch Istanbul, which was taken over by the Muslims in 1453 when that was a Christian center for the Eastern Christianity. And it got just taken over by Muslims. And when you see that today, and you see mosque on every corner, and you see the call to prayer on almost every block, it's repulsive. It's absolutely repulsive. because it's a takeover. It's a takeover of a territory that wasn't theirs, but they have taken over. They are now taking over Europe completely, and the Europeans are allowing this to happen. And if you're not careful, they'll take over America. They'll take over all Western society if you're not careful. If this is not stopped. The problem that Constantinople had in 1453 is they wouldn't neutralize Islam. They just kept making deals with it, thinking it could be bargained with. And it can't. So you can kill Nasrallah, and you can kill Sinwar, and you can just keep killing the whatever, but until you deal with the religion, it's not going to stop. And that's what we have to understand. It's a political movement disguised as a religion. And it's basically fighting a war against the West and Israel. That's what it's doing. It's trying for world domination. So what I want to put on your screen is all the verses against the Jews in the Quran. Okay? The Jews in the Quran are called the strongest of all people in enmity toward Muslims. Surah 582, they fabricate things to falsely ascribe them to Allah. They claim that Allah's power is limited. They love to listen to lies. They disobey Allah, never observe His commands. They're disputing and quarreling, hiding the truth and misleading people, staging rebellion against the prophets and rejecting their guidance, being hypocritical, giving preference to their own interest over the teachings of Muhammad, wishing evil for people, trying to mislead them, feeling pain when others are happy or fortunate, being arrogant about their being Allah's beloved people, devouring people's wealth by subterfuge, slandering the true religion and being cursed by Allah, killing the prophets, being merciless and heartless, never keeping their promises or fulfilling their words, being unrestrained in committing sins, being cowardly, being miserly, being transformed into apes and pigs for breaking the Sabbath, and more. They are under Allah's curse, and Muslims should wage war against them and subjugate them under Islamic hegemony. That's their own writings. That's where it comes from. That's what we're dealing with. And until that's addressed, the world is never going to deal with Islam until that's addressed. Because that's what's fueling anti-Semitism right there. All that. Along with other things in the world. But, I mean, this religion is an anti-Semitic religion. There it is. Can't lie. So, even the deputy PM for the Netherlands noted publicly that many Muslim immigrants are anti-Semitic. Duh. Yeah. That's part of it. They are. But guess what? She gets, castigated as some, Islamophobic or whatever. She's accused of felony for noting that many Muslim migrants hate Jews. She's a felon for saying that? I just showed you this. So she's accused of being a felon. So tell me this, why is Europe protecting Islam? A felony? There's the Quran. There it is. Why are they protecting them? You tell me.
They're the useful idiots.
Yeah. See, what you have to understand, the elites in Europe also hate Israel too. They're anti-Semitic. But they got to have henchmen. They got to have someone to do the dirty work. And so the elites in Europe, not the Europeans, but the elites in Europe are using Muslims to destroy the West. They want to destroy the West. They hate the West, these elites. Macron and all these people like that. These elites. They hate the West. They want to see it destroyed. And so they're going to use Islam to be the battering ram to destroy it all, to bring it all down. Yeah, that's what they're doing in all the West. So anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, and Islam go hand in hand with the elite's psychopathic, murderous hatred for Israel and the Jewish people. So when you want to destroy the West, the first thing you have to do is go after the Jews and Christians. That's how you have to kill the West. That's how you destroy the West, is go after Judeo-Christian ethics. So you have to make blood libels, demonization, delegitimization, robbing the Jewish people of their history and projection, make Israel the perpetrators of genocide. You have to do it. You have to do the reverse on them. And that's what starts it. So once you can get people to start going after the Jews, then they will go after the Christians. And they'll go after the West and destroy the whole thing. Because they're making Israel the front runner of the West. Yeah.
The homosexual community is doing the same thing to the Christians, like
Yeah.
with our biblical standards, like hate. The homosexual community is using the Bible as the same way we just did with the Quran. They're pointing out like little hate verses and then trying to turn the whole world against the Christians. So and then they kind of joined forces, even though the Muslims would throw a queer off of a building.
That's right. That's right. So then you have the anomaly that you're pointing out, queers for Palestine, queers for Hamas. And you're like, what? And said the whole thing, Jay, of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, type of thing, that, well, I hate the West, I hate Christianity, and I hate the Jews, so the gays and the Muslims will hook up together in an alliance to attack that common enemy of Jews and Christians. That's what's happening. And what happens is these globalist elites and technocrats, they hate Israel, they hate the West, and they hate you as Christians. And they're trying to bring the whole thing down. But it always starts with the Jews. The Jews are the canary in, the mine. They're the first ones they go after. But that's not the end of it. If you think they're just going to stay with the Jews, you're crazy. They're going to go after you too. Right? So if you don't help Israel and defend Israel, then you have no one defending you. That's the problem. And that's what the West doesn't understand. If they take out Israel, they're going after you next. Israel serves as the frontier barrier to keep Islam back. That's what you have to understand about the Middle East. They're holding Islam back. But if you mess with Israel and you don't have a powerful Israel, you're not going to hold them back anymore. What does Israel need to do? Well, they need to retrieve the hostages alive or dead. No doubt about that. They need to finish the destruction of Hamas. They need to destroy Hezbollah. And that's a long way off, though. They have done significant impact to Hezbollah. No doubt about that. But they're still a long way off. That's not over. What our contacts are saying is that everybody's moving north. Everyone's going north. Okay, they've isolated Hamas in Gaza. They got that pretty much under control, and they're going to continue to work on them. But everyone's moved north. Everyone's moved north. And the issue then is you have to push Hezbollah back enough to get them past the Litani River and create a buffer zone for northern Israel for the Jews to come back. Okay, and then again, this is a long way off. Israel has to start manufacturing their own weapons. They have to start doing this because they're too dependent on the United States for weapons. And then they have to take out the Iranian regime. Okay, well, that sounds easy enough, but the problem is the big person in the way of this is the United States from accomplishing this. So the chance that the hostages of getting them back is still low. An unnamed U.S. official told the outlet that negotiations were unlikely to be productive or even begin until Israel carried out its strike on Iran, as Hamas would not likely to agree to anything until the consequences of the strike became clear. So Hamas is waiting for the strike on Iran. They want to see what's going on here. But the big issue, like I said, is the Biden-Harris administration. And again, don't think that Biden and Harris are making any decisions. They're not. They're just being told what to do. But you understand we have an appeasement policy going on with Iran. And so this is why they're pushing a ceasefire on both fronts with Hamas and Hezbollah. They don't want a war going on right now. And they want Israel to make a truce with Iran. They don't want Iran's nuclear capabilities and oil capabilities to be targeted by Israel. So who are you friends with then? And the Biden administration does not want Iran defeated by Israel. They don't. That's not what they want. And so they're trying to hold Netanyahu back from doing that. But that has to be done. Now, here's what they've done. They've offered to Bibi, they've tried to bribe him. Jerusalem Post has reported that the United States is offering Israel a substantial compensation package. This includes military aid and full diplomatic support. However, the offer is contingent on Israel restricting its strikes in Iran to targets that have been pre-approved by Washington. In addition, the United States has pledged to defend Israel against any retaliation from Iran. You see what's happening? They're trying to bribe him. Okay? This is what they're doing. This is my government, United States, keep messing with Israel. Now, then what happened? U.S. officials are investigating the leak of secret documents related to Israel's preparation to respond to Iran's October 1st ballistic missile attack. The documents were first published on a pro-Iranian Telegram channel. U.S. officials have confirmed the authenticity of the documents and apologized for Israel for the leak. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You leaked classified intel on their Iranian plans to attack? Wow. Documents dated October 15th, October 16th, respectively, are marked top secret and for viewing for the Five Eyes. The Five Eyes are the United States, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. It was leaked from that. The fact that the administration had made sure to leak the press that it wants Israel to avoid striking at Iran's nuclear weapons program, which is an existential threat not just to Israel, but to Arab nations and the West, was shocking indication of its ongoing devotion to the ideal that Tehran and its most important assets should not be threatened. I can't, for the life of me, understand why we love Iran so much. I mean, they do. American officials have sought to depict it in the never-ending leaks of information about their communications with Israel officials that they pass along at regular intervals to their favorite journalists at the New York Times, the Atlantic, who share their contempt for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They can't stand it. So they keep leaking. If I was Israel, I wouldn't tell the United States anything anymore. I'm done. I'm not telling you anything, Biden. I'm not telling you anything what we're going to do. Or tell them the opposite or something, right? So, but here's the problem. Here's the problem, and everybody in this room knows this. What is Bibi going to do if he can't get the weapons that he needs to fight a war? You see what I'm saying? He's in between a rock and a hard place. He needs the United States to give him weapons. So, we got an election coming, so let me show you something else. So, Lebanon's Hezbollah terrorist organization on Saturday morning launched an unmanned aerial vehicle at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's private residence in Caesarea. Okay? The drone hit a nearby building. The Israeli forces said that Hezbollah had launched 3 drones from Lebanon, 2 of which were intercepted. No warning signs were sounded prior to the drone impact. They're investigating the event. Here's the footage of the drone heading towards Benjamin Netanyahu's house. You see the helicopter, and then right behind it will be the drone. Isn't that crazy? And that ended up going to his house. So they're trying to take the guy out, obviously, right? Of course, Biden and Harris failed to call Netanyahu after assassination attempt. Trump's Starmer and Johnson, though, do. I wonder why they didn't call him. Apparently, neither Kamala nor Biden said anything to or about the Iranian assassination attempt on Netanyahu and his wife. President Trump did call to express his concern, as did the British Prime Minister. but not Kamala and not Biden. Yeah, go ahead.
Pastor Brandon, we've got a question from our online listener. Lori Passos is asking, what do you think a Trump presidency will do for Israel?
Yeah, I think it will definitely help it. I think Trump will give Israel the necessary weapons to deal with it and finish it quickly. And that's what we're all hoping, and that's what I think Netanyahu's hoping, is that Trump gets in there and they can end this quickly. Okay, and that would be the best scenario, obviously. And we all know how Trump would deal with it because we already saw what he did. We already know. He's already been in office for 4 years. And so that would be the most ideal scenario. And Israel would have no problem. Get the weapons, take care of business. Boom, deal with Iran, take out their nuclear installations, take out their oil, you're incapacitated, they're cut off at the knees, kill every Ayatollah. Okay, that's what they would do. And I think that would happen. The problem is, and you know what the problem is they will cheat in the election. And again, you have to outvote the cheating, we know that. Because if you get a Biden, if you get a Harris winning this, it's a disaster for Israel. It's a complete disaster, right? So Israel is caught between a rock and a hard place right now. And here's the thing, like I've said, without U.S. support, any hope of Israel being able to sustain a campaign to fundamentally degrade Hezbollah's ability to inflict suffering on the Jewish state is not likely to succeed unless God intervenes, okay? And obviously God can intervene and do miraculous, and he has been. But on just a human level, Israel does not have the weaponry to sustain a long-term war against Hezbollah or Iran. So if they have to strike fast and kill quick. Israel cannot have a long drawn-out thing like you have like in Ukraine. They can't do that. They don't have the weapons for it. So Israel's got to do something now, or wait to see what the election happen. What's going on there? I want you to think about this. Talk about the cursing of the Abrahamic curse. I'll bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. Biden Harris gave over, what is that? $1 billion to the Palestinians since October 7th. In 2023, ahead of October 7th attacks, a Freedom Center exposes revealed that Israel deaths shot up 900% after Biden dispensed $1 billion in aid to terrorist areas. $1 billion.
Jeremiah 20:56 talks about part of Iran, Alim, and how that's where all the oil refineries and the nuclear places, and it will become a place where there's nobody can live there because of fumes or toxins.
Yeah.
Do you think that's legit and in the near future?
Yeah, I think Jeremiah 49 is right in the near future, and Elam is that section of Iran. If you guys look on a map where Elam is, it's a section where the Bushehr nuclear facility is, and it's right there on by the coast line where Iran. If you look there, Jeremiah 49 has never been accomplished, and it says that whatever happens, the four winds draw something up, something supernatural happens, and a disaster happens where no one can live there, and the inhabitants of Elam are spread out all over the earth, and they can't return. And so the idea is that Israel takes out its capabilities. It says its bow is broken. Not the arrows, but its bow is broken. And the idea there is that if they had nuclear launching capabilities, that's destroyed. And if there's a radiation leak, then that would explain why no one can live there. It would be a major problem. And that's an unfulfilled prophecy. And I think we're looking at something like that happening in the near future, because they've got to deal with Iran. They've got to deal with it. And I think obviously that sets off all kinds of stuff. Look, if Israel does take out their nuclear capabilities, you know who's going to be right on top of it. I just showed you Turkey and Russia saying, hey, what are you doing taking out Sinwar? They're going to jump right on top of that. And then, that coalition of Gog and Magog will definitely form off of that. So, the whole thing is setting itself in motion. And unfortunately, it just irks me so bad that we have an administration that is turning its back on Israel. It is anti-Israel. And that just brings cursing on our country because of that. So that's what irritates me. And look what Sanders says. If we elect Kamala Harris, we can move her on Israel support. And they mean to cut off Israel from support. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about Damascus total destruction as well.
Yeah. So that's another wild card in there is the destruction of Damascus, which becomes uninhabited. And Damascus, obviously, in Syria. And, we have all through Syria Iran proxies that have been operating through Syria. That's how they fly them in from Iran and get the weapons to Hezbollah is through Syria. And so at some point, I think, again, I'm not predicting, I'm guessing that Israel's probably going to eventually take out Damascus too, because there's too much terroristic activity happening in all these places. And so you see the destruction of Damascus, the destruction of Elam, and I think we're right there. And those events, interesting enough, you study them, they're not located in the tribulation period. They're not located anywhere. They're floating out there in prophecy, and we really don't know where to stick them. But I think the closer we are to those events happening, the clearer the picture becomes that these could be pre-tribulational events that set in motion the Gog of Magog war, and then eventually the Antichrist coming in and making a covenant with Israel and all that other stuff. And those wild cards happening maybe in the near future. I think it's totally legit to think like that. And that's not sensationalism. That's just saying, okay, where do these prophecies fit? And taking our best shot at trying to place these things. I can't figure out how to place them in the tribulation because there's other things going on in the tribulation with Israel. They're in a protected state with Antichrist, and no one's messing with them because Antichrist is protecting them, and then eventually he turns on them. So that's a whole different dynamic in the tribulation. So when I look at the destruction of Damascus and Elam, I'm seeing pre-tribulational events line up better than that. And that's what we're looking at. In Trump, and that's why you say, I hope he does get in there for all of us, for all of our sakes. And like he's saying, Netanyahu is winning by doing the opposite of what Biden and Harris say. He's right. Just do the opposite of what these idiots say, right? Even Bill Maher, a leftist like Bill Maher has a little rationale, and he says, I'm sick of people wanting to ceasefire after Israel got attacked. Israel tried letting Gaza be a Palestinian state. He's totally right. It's weird. Sometimes Bill Maher comes up with the right answer. It's weird, but even him, he recognizes it, right? Okay. Over the last few weeks, you've got 100 rockets in 2 barrages going over in the upper Galilee area. IDF deaths bring a total military death toll during the war of all fronts of 748. Over 65 Hezbollah terrorists have been killed so far. And this is a video that Keith sent me, because we have a team in Israel right now, and they gave us an update because these rockets are firing. He was showing me today the rockets in the air being shot over. So it's like constantly happening. So here's the video.
Hey, Rock Harbor Church, it's Keith. Hey, we wanted to give you an update what's going on here on the ground. As you know, we send teams here monthly, and every time we've sent people here, it's been safe. We haven't had any issues. Baptist Village has been safe. We've never had to evacuate. go to the bomb shelters or anything. However, this trip's different. The last 2 days, each morning around 8 o'clock in the morning, the rocket alarms go off, sirens go off, and we get to hear Iron Dome doing its job, intercepting rockets in close proximity to close enough where you can hear the explosions and actually feel the walls shake in the buildings. So we'll keep you posted. We're talking to our IDF contacts. Something's getting ready to happen up north. So all the individuals we're going to go see are all getting pulled into Lebanon. So something major is getting ready to happen, so stay tuned. We'll keep you posted as we hear things. Thank you and God bless.
So anyway, something's getting ready to happen, no doubt about that, and we're going to continue to watch it. The other thing I want to address before we wrap things up, I found this good article, and it says a lot about what's happening in our societies about Israel. America's Europeanizing anti-Semitism. And when we look at Europe and we see that their whole culture has been replaced by Islam, and there's the elites that are aligned with Islam in their anti-Semitic mentality, and we're flabbergasted by that. But the problem is it's starting to happen here in America. And the idea is we're being Europeanized. The same thing that's happening there is starting to happen here. And basically, it's the idea, the article Daniel Greenfield said, the elimination of the Jews from public life that began among European elites after 9/11 has come to America. It's playing out in much the same way with furious denunciations of Israel and the normalization of Hamas. American college students in New York and LA chanting for Islamic terrorists are acting much the same way their counterparts in London were doing 25 years ago. Okay? He goes, Muslim mass migration is only part of the story, as is campus radicalism. Rape gangs, hating America, hating Israel, the elites, the suburbanite leftists are willing to join in anti-Semitism. Leftists want the fall of the West, and it starts with the Jews. Aligning with Islamic terrorists licenses anti-Semitism. But then most radical causes do. Jews are an easy target, but only for the first of many. The whole point of anti-Semitism is to normalize all the other horrible things that will come after. Okay? And so Daniel Greenfield, he's Jewish, he's making the point that if Western society thinks that they only hate the Jews, you are fooling yourself. They are coming after you too. That's who they hate as well. It's the Judeo-Christians, it's Jews and Christians, the people of the book that they want to out of their society. So I think this is where, like, I'm speaking to the choir tonight. You guys already know this. But what we need to do is start waking up other believers saying, hey, you ignoring Israel is to your own peril. Because you think they're not aiming at you, but they're coming after you. And we need to wake up other Christians who think, oh, it's never going to affect me. I'm just going to go on with my life. Who cares if they target the Jews? Who cares if they target us? What do I care about what's going on in the Middle East? I think it's time to wake these Christians up and say, they're going to get you too. What was that famous saying in Germany? You know, they came for the socialists, and I didn't say anything. They came for the Jews. I didn't say anything. Then they finally came for me. I think it was Martin Niemöller that said this. I can't remember who said it. Maybe it's Bonhoeffer, right? I can't remember. Who was it? Was it Bonhoeffer? Yeah, okay, Bonhoeffer said it. And then when they came for me, there was no one left. You know, and you know the famous line, and that's right. The Nazis were not just going to stay with taking out the Jews. They wanted to take out everybody that stood in their path, right? And here's what you have to understand about the globalist elites. The Jews are first. but you're second. And then everyone else that stands in their way is third. And then everyone else that they think is their ally, they will eliminate. So they will eliminate Islam. They will eliminate the LGBT. They will eliminate the transgender. These groups think they're friends with them, right? But all they are is useful idiots for the globalist elites. The globalist elite will eat them up and chew them out. They will eliminate them and do it real easy. No problems. So, that's what evil does. Evil consumes itself, right? It uses useful idiots to get to where it needs to be. But then it kills everybody in the process. Look, you got to go back to this. What is the purpose of the system that they're trying to employ? It's control, okay? And if I can't control you and make you my slave, then what do I need to do with you? I need to kill you, okay? So that's it. It's real simple. You either become a slave or we kill you. That's how the system works. Everybody's got to get that under their head. That's not hyperbole. That's just the way the system works. And people are not getting this. They think you can that the elites will let you just live your life. That you can just go about and go back to normal. You're crazy if you think you're going back to normal. They're never letting you go back to normal. If Kamala Harris gets in here, you will never go back to even what you think is normal right now. You're not going back to this. Because you know what's getting ready to come down the pipe? Censorship. Okay? That's what's getting ready to come down the pipe. They're going to trample the First Amendment because they cannot allow you to speak anymore. They have to quell it. And look, I've been doing deep dives on this and studying what they're doing, and that's the next move. If Kamala gets in here, you're going to see the elimination of free speech. And if you see the elimination of free speech, that's tied to the freedom of religion, because then you can't say anything in your religion anymore. Right? You can't see Jesus as the only way. You can't say homosexuality is wrong. Can't say that because that's not kosher. I just came from a country, Turkey, that has no free speech. Okay? They don't allow. And when you're in a country like that, you feel the oppression. You feel what it means. I can't say that? Yeah, like the tour guide. She couldn't even say that Erdogan was a bad guy. She can't say that Ataturk is a bad guy. Ataturk killed 1.5 million Armenian Christians in Turkey. They just killed them, genocided them. And the stinking tour guide said, yeah, Ataturk is like your George Washington to us. I said, oh, really? He's a genocidal, psychopathic maniac who killed 1.5 million Armenian Christians. What are you talking about? But again, this is the world that you live in when you're in a totalitarian regime and you can't say anything because it's illegal in Turkey to speak against Ataturk. Did you know that? Can't speak against him, even though he's dead. But that's how it is. And my thing, I was thinking about this. Oh my goodness, that's coming to America if Kamala gets in. That's what will happen. You can't say anything against the government. You can't say anything against the World Health Organization. You can't say anything against the UN. All that other junk. So this Europeanizing, I guess you want to call it, is happening. So let me get to the last point. I think this is prophetic. Israel's becoming the only safe place in the world from people trying to destroy them. It's not going to be safe in America for Jews. And I hate to tell you that. Because the way it's going, God says, I'm going to draw them all back. I'm going to draw them all back. And that's why we are working behind the scenes in creating a network an alliance with other churches and other ministries that when it's time to help the Jews, we're going to step in the gap to help them. We're going to protect them. We're going to do what we can. We're already providing security for the synagogue, but it's going to go way beyond that. Who knows? We might have to take in Jewish people and protect them. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know what's going to be involved. But I know this. I know what kind of people you are. And I know that we can count on you to help Israel, to help Jewish people, and to protect them. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is, with all this going on, and you see all this, I need you to start preparing your heart and asking God, what can you do to step in the gap if it gets so bad in America that you would have to protect Jewish people? I want you to think about that and that reality, that actually occurring in your lifetime. That you would be another Corrie ten Boom, right? That you would house people in your house or whatever. I'm already working with other organizations to get this going, preparing for this, because it's a real possibility that this could happen. And look, this article that Daniel Greenfield is trying to tell you, we're becoming like Europe, and Europe is thoroughly anti-Semitic. And with what we saw in the colleges and universities, what we're seeing now, and in Washington, D.C. about Israel, it's already happening. It's happening. So I'll leave you with that. This might be your call to step up. That God is saying, okay, it's time. I need this to happen. And is there anyone that will do this? Yeah, you'll get the question.
I just wanted to share something.
Go ahead.
Last weekend, I went camping by myself. And because my wife was here at the church and doing a bunch of stuff, so it was time for me to go over there. So, anyhow, I saw a guy across the parking lot, and he was camping by himself. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go. God was telling me, go over there and talk to this guy. So I went over there, and he was on a motorcycle, and he had a little small tent. And I walked over there, and I said, hey, how you doing? Good morning, how you doing? And I go, you came on this bike? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm not from this country, though. I said, oh, where are you from? He's like, I'm from Israel. Oh. And I said, oh, well, what are you doing here? I said, first off, you're God's people.
Yeah.
I said, you're
Amen.
You know. And we started talking, and he's like, so you just came over here just to talk to me? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I've been here on vacation, and nobody comes up to me and talks to me. And I said, really? I said, you know what? I go to a church that we support Israel. Yeah. And I said, we send over there, drones. We send over there boots and pants. And before I even finished my sentence, he goes like this. He goes, look, this is what I have from them. He goes, I'm an IDF soldier, and I've been in Gaza, and I'm on vacation.
Oh,
here
really?
In the United States.
Wow.
And my other family went ahead of me to Nevada, and they're doing the stops everywhere. And I said I wanted to go by myself, and I'll meet you guys in 2 to 3 days.
Okay.
And he's on a motorcycle.
Wow.
His name is Hanan Orlov, and he gave me his phone number in Israel.
Oh, did he really?
His phone number's here.
That's great.
I told him, I said, do you believe in Jesus Christ? And he's like, no. And I said, what do you preach? I mean, what do you listen to? He's like, my dad was religious, but I'm not.
Okay.
I said, he goes, but I go, I'm going to pray for you. And he's like, yes, please do. Please pray for me.
That's great.
So I think it was awesome just to see the support and him being happy to see, like somebody come up to him and, do all that. It was
right.
Nice. Yeah.
That's a God moment, right? Amen. And that's what you have to do is you reach out and you listen to the Lord prompting you, because He's trying to get His people back. He's trying to win them back, and He's going to do it, in these last days through the remnant. It's the Philadelphia element that's pro-Israel. And I know we're small, but look at the impact we're already making. You made that impact on that guy, and you just by telling him, hey, I go to a church that's pro-Israel, that we've actually tangibly given stuff, drones and stuff to protect them. No, people can't say that. That's a huge witness to him. And that's what I'm saying in the days ahead. Because we're already situated in a pro-Israel stance, I think everybody in this room is going to get chances to minister to Jewish people so one way or another. And my heart is take advantage of that. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And you could say, hey, I was a Corrie ten Boom, and I did this, and I was able to buy a drone, or I was able to provide helmets or whatever. Dude, that's historic. That's historical stuff, that you're weighing in on that stuff. So anyway, that's my encouragement to you, and that's why I wanted to show you all this, because we're up against some big things, but God is going to use us. And if you just put yourself out there and make yourself available like he did, you never know. You're going to end up leading someone to the Lord, a Jewish person to the Lord. Wouldn't that be amazing, right? Anyway, any other questions? And we got to go. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say real quick that if we just remember to stop singing and stand up.
Yeah, right?
Don't say sing louder.
Yeah, don't say sing louder. We have to stand up for Israel, absolutely, and ever more than ever. So anyway, yeah, let's get a mic over there to Jay.
God bless America and the whole wide world. So I'm building a mobile stage so we can go out and lift up Jesus, and we need to celebrate and educate. So I had an idea, and I talked to Monica about it. She said she'll probably help me with it. But we need to make, just like, praise God. We need to get some information out to the people in the streets because they're ignorant.
Yes,
and
they
so
are.
I was thinking, like, create some curriculum that kind of like a fast-paced, where we're at thing, and then we could have pamphlets to hand out.
It's a good idea.
To people when we do the outreaches.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then start discipling our kids and stuff about.
You know what, Jay? I'm glad you brought that up. I'll look into that. Something that we can pass out. That would be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, hand out to people about Israel. So,
because there's a lot of ignorant.
Yeah, a lot of ignorance, right? A lot of ignorance. So let me work on that. That's a great idea.
And the other thing I was going to say is that my motto is kind of like, so I don't get all anxious about a lot of things, is that everything is subject to change.
Yeah.
And normal is the setting on a washing machine. So, you know what I mean? Expect the unexpected.
That's a good way normal is the setting on the washing machine. That's right. Good. Hey, that's a good mindset because we're not going back to normal. We're not going back to normal, that's for sure. It's good. So with that words of wisdom, we'll end on there, man. So that's good. Let's pray. Father, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to be able to serve you at this point in time in history. Help us all in here to stand in the gap and do what we got to do, to stand strong for your word, to stand strong for Israel, and whatever the cost, help us to persevere through that all so that we can be that light, be that city on a hill, be that salt to this world, Father. And so bless us now as we go. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you guys.